Welcome. Recently, I took a trip to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. If you are a sports fan, especially of our national pastime, then this is a great place to visit, both the town and the museum. Baseball is a special sport, the great American pastime with history that spans almost the length of our existence. While football is king in America, largely due to the scarcity of supply compared to the size of the demand, baseball is our bloodline because it connects with more people than any other sport. Many people participated in Little League, played baseball with friends, or played baseball during recess, or simply traded baseball cards. It is part of our DNA. Also, baseball is timeless, connecting greats of yesteryear with the superstars of today and tomorrow. Despite the media's attempt to shape everything into a complete dichotomy of one versus the rest, baseball does not boil down to one player ruling over all. Each great adds their own chapter to the ongoing story that is baseball. Greats of today and yesterday stand next to each other in the annals of history, in reverence and appreciation. As a Phillies fan, it was great to see the members of our team that made the Hall. To see Michael Jack Schmidt, Steve Lefty Carlton, and Dick Allen in the Hallow Hall of Plaques. And to see great memorabilia from current great moments, like the batting helmet from Kyle Schwarber's 4-home run game from last season. It was very impactful for me to see the plaque of the late great Roy Halladay, who I watched pitch at Citizens Bank Park many times. As a fan of baseball overall, it is great to see the memorabilia from Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Jackie Robinson, Joe DiMaggio, and the two statues of Ruth and Ted Williams. Interesting to see the displays of Pete Rose's bat and gear. Maybe one day, they could add a plaque for him, Bonds, and Clemens. Maybe put a display of the Asterisk Bunch, as they continue to expand. Just saying. I hope that you take a trip to the beautiful town of Cooperstown, visit the Hall of Fame with your family, Little League team, or make it a school trip. Worth the time because the lessons are important, especially for our current generation, where we lose perspective over career pursuits and how to get there. Sometimes hearing from the greats in a field provides us lessons in our daily life. Part of lifelong learning is being able to glean lessons from the experiences of others, even if those experiences are in different arenas that you will ever find yourself. Learning about the experiences of how people excelled to the highest levels of their fields, many times without the expectation of a Hall of Fame spot, but just driven by the love of their sport. We all would be so lucky to work in a job where we loved it beyond the perks, benefits, and salary. Many of us would not step foot in the building if we were not getting paid. And rightfully so. But, you can still see the effort these greats made to refine their skill, to find ways to make their tomorrows better than their todays. Learn the lessons from those who have achieved greatness, not just from those who are conveniently placed. We all learn great lessons from our parents, teachers, and those who care about us. But those who excel to the highest levels can help inspire us to take those lessons and achieve greatness. Now, let us discuss the upcoming baseball season. I think baseball this season has many great storylines as spring training has begun and we are in the midst of the World Baseball Classic. The World Baseball Classic is great and is really having a patriotic feel this time around. Hopefully, the Olympics opens their eyes and brings baseball and softball back. The Los Angeles Dodgers are preparing to attempt a three-peat, which has been pretty difficult to do in any sport recently. They definitely have the roster to give themselves a real chance, but so do the Yankees, Phillies, maybe the Padres, Mets, or Brewers, who find ways to win every year. Baseball has had great parity since the additional wild cards were added. While many people take issue with how the Los Angeles Dodgers have approached player contracts, the Dodgers have been a talented team, but not unbeatable. The better-paid team won the World Series last year, but the Blue Jays in their wins clearly outplayed the Dodgers and should have won the series if they could have held their lead in Game 7. In New York, there has not been much real spending like some of their fans have hoped. The Mets parted ways with their star slugger, but outbid my Phillies to overpay their new third baseman. They are transitioning apparently after what was another memorable slide out of first place. My Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Yankees both simply spent money retaining their own players. Except for Nick Castellanos, who we released with a replacement with some upside in Adolis Garcia. We now know what the issue was at the incident towards the end of the season that created a rift between Castellanos and Phillies management. Nick will now try to rebound in San Diego. Garcia is a statistical improvement over Castellanos, at least on paper. For my Phillies, they return most of their core and will bring up some talented prospects it appears. Justin Crawford appears ready to patrol center field and Aiden Miller may eventually see some action at third base, despite Alec Bohm still being on the roster. Andrew Painter may replace Ranger. Personally, I expect to be able to compete as we still have the talent in our lineup and pitching staff. But I do acknowledge that we have to worry about whether we are too similar to last season or will the minor adjustments pay huge dividends. Too early to tell. The health of our talent will be important, and whether our stars can shine will be important. Bryce Harper took issue with what appeared to be an innocuous answer regarding his play in 2025. Will it fuel a turnaround? But we will have to see if he gets back to the star that was the heart of our World Series team and the one that made the National League Championship Series. Our pitching staff will need to bounce back once Zach Wheeler returns from the issue with blood clots. If Andrew Painter replaces Ranger Suarez and shows his potential, then we will be fine from a pitching standpoint. I disagree with the projections that have the Braves and Mets by default ahead of the Phillies. I think both teams could be better than last season, but I would not trust either team. I still think we would be able to be in the mix for the division title. But there are still questions to answer, like who will be the fifth batter to help Harper get better pitches. The next chapter of baseball has started with some controversy. Unfortunately, with a bit of controversy. The president of the baseball union, former player, Tony Clark, resigned allegedly due to the ongoing federal investigations into potential mismanagement of funds as well as inappropriate benefits provided to a close connection of his. As the league and the players prepare to fight the next collective bargaining agreement, this may make it more difficult for the players to prepare as now to deal with ahead of preparation, and dealing with a federal investigation as well as a complex negotiation at the same time along with a succession plan for its leadership can provide many distractions. Intense labor battles between the teams and players have been etched in the history of the sport and shaped the business of sports beyond just the major leagues. Many of us recall the strike that canceled the World Series in the 90s and the replacement players. Since my Phillies won the National League the year before, they were able to be defending NL champions for 2 seasons in a row. There are some expectations that there will be a strike following this season as the league will try to address the spending issues with some form of salary cap, being the only American sports league without some limit and floor. As one would expect, players will probably fight it as long as possible, but eventually there will probably be some form of salary cap. We can take the billionaires versus millionaires view that the media likes to portray these negotiations, but these issues can have an important impact on the competition on the field. The spending patterns of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, and maybe my Phillies are probably fueling that drive for a cap. Now, the players have been consistent in framing like they support the spending patterns of these teams. But I'm not sure the deferral of salaries is a good approach, where the entire contract is pushed decades later is really appropriate. In sports, some may view deferred liabilities as a non-problem because it is not perceivable that a sport would contract. Sports are always perceived to be growing, even when it is just slow growth. Football teams defer salaries as well, but they are limited to a few years, not decades of deferred payments. And football contracts are not fully guaranteed. So the full amount is probably not as big of an issue as deferring hundreds of millions to manipulate the salary rules. Maybe Major League Baseball should just add penalties to deferred salaries beyond a certain percentage. From a player's perspective, team spending is not an issue as they benefit from it. Deferred payments in high-tax states are not an issue because it allows them to leave the state when the money comes due. Their position is that more teams should pay out bigger salaries with more years, guarantees, and opt-outs. Like it or not, the business usually has to be the adult in the room because they are not just looking at take-home pay, but also the overall health of the business, now and in the future. They have to weigh potential risks that may impact the revenue streams that owners and players are splitting. While the players simply worry about their take and benefits, the economic conditions and investments for the future are borne by the business. Based on what the overall precedent is and the fact that every other league has some form of salary cap and has seen parity in the quality of play and overall competition, I think there will be some form of salary cap that will become a reality. The precedent is in the favor of the owners, while the players will be on the side of traditionalism. Some form of parity in a league has shown positive impacts for the game. There is just too much evidence to prove otherwise. The National Football League is the most popular sport in the world because every team has a reasonable chance to compete and turn around their fortunes each year. They have the strongest cap. Basketball has seen better competition since instituting salary controls. Same with hockey. We can even look outside of our border for examples. Recently there was an article about how the English Premier League has the strongest showing over the last 3 or 4 years overall in the European Champions League. It is the only league with revenue sharing and financial controls that actually matter. Salary controls may appear as market manipulation or corporate socialism, but these are within the same organization, not market-wide. Having small market teams that have no real chance at competing waters down the product and reduces overall interest. I think it is fair to expect that teams receiving assistance actually spend the money on either player salaries or upgrading facilities for the fan experience. Too many owners seem to be pocketing the revenue sharing and not doing enough to retain superstar talent that comes up through their system or build around them. And they also rely completely on their local governments to build stadiums. Unless you have a historic ballpark or are a perennial contender, you should be investing in your facilities to attract fans, your farm system to put a product on the field that rewards the fans for attending, and invest in free agents that can fill a need not available in your pipeline. I think some form of salary cap and floor will be needed. The status quo has improved the game, but let's make every city a baseball city.